Hi, Caleb with Brownells here, and today I'm joined by Alex, and we're going to be building a bolt gun today. So Alex, thanks for coming out, first of all. And just kind of tell us what experience you have building one of these.
I've never built a bolt action gun before, so built a couple ARs in the house, but kind of excited to do a bolt gun.
All right, well, you have experience shooting them, so now it's time to kind of get on the other end of that and jump into building one. So first of all, he's never done this. He's doing it for the first time on camera, right? So go easy on him, okay? I've built hundreds of these before I did it on camera, and then when I did it on camera, it was an absolute disaster. So with that being said, let's just kind of jump right into it. I'm just going to introduce kind of the main components we're using here. We have a KRG chassis, right? And from there, we got a proof research barrel. The action we're going to be using is going to be a Zermatt Origin, and the caliber of the build is going to be a 6.5 Creedmoor. With that, TriggerTech diamond trigger, a few other accessories here, Vortex Razor optic. We'll kind of get into that as we go. But let's just jump right into it and go from there. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to get you to install this TriggerTech diamond trigger. And to do that, we're going to be over here in the vise. So let me get you some padded vise jaws here so we don't just clamp your action in some steel jaws, right? Alright, so we'll use these. They're magnetic, they just clip right in there.
This way or this way?
Yep, there you go. And two. So what we'll do is we'll grab it. Come off a little. Yeah, there you go. Just like that. Nice and snug, nothing crazy. That'll do just fine. Alright, so the trigger is going to drop right in there, and we'll get the trigger pins out to hold it in here. And I'm just going to move the safety out of the way so it gives you clearance.
Okay.
And then just basically drop that in the slot. And I'm going to give you a polymer punch, because that's all we need. That way we don't mar anything. And I'm also going to get you, I say this every single day, but I need to label these drawers. Alright, and you can just use, honestly, the nylon end of the hammer, and that'll be plenty of force to get those pins in. And they go in a little tight, so if you want, you can actually just get them started. Just don't go through the slot. And they'll go in either way.
Maybe.
And on the back of that punch, there's a holder.
Okay.
So that'll kind of, just to kind of help you get them started there. So that's a part of the Sons of Liberty Gunworks punch kit for the AR-15, but it works great for other things, obviously.
There we go.
Yeah, that'll be good.
It's like lightning, can't hit the same spot twice.
Perfect. And you drop that on. And it doesn't matter which one you do first, but I typically like to do the front one first.
This one?
Yep.
Gotta get mad at it, huh?
Yeah, it's moving.
There we go.
Perfect. Boom. There it is.
That's
Easy
slick.
enough.
Yeah.
All right, so just take the action out of the vise here. And what we're going to do, because our action wrench that we're using doesn't clear the ejector on the Zermatt action, We're just going to pull that ejector out of there, and then we'll put it back in once we're done. So in order to get that out, it's just held in by a set screw on the bottom right there. So I'm going to give you some wrenches here. And I'm going to guess the size. It may or may not be right, but you can try that one first.
You guessed right.
Yes, nailed it. It's always it always ends up being a drinking game for the audience, whether or not I'm going to choose the right wrench on the first try. Perfect. All right. So you can just kind of tilt the action over and it'll all fall out. All right. So at this point, what we can do is we'll get rid of the vise. We don't need this vise anymore. I'm going to set this aside. And we will switch to our barrel vise. And I'll grab that from over here. So this is the short action custom barrel vise. It is by far my favorite out of all the ones we have. It actually secures onto the bench mount with Arca rail.
Oh, okay.
Which is super nifty. And I'll just snug this up real quick and then get out your way so you can keep building. All right, so what we're gonna do is take our barrel, determine what size bushing we need, which I think it's the 1.2 inch if I remember correctly. Yes, it is. Perfect. So we'll use those. So just take those bushings, take one of the bushings and lay it down into the barrel vise. Perfect. And then the other corresponding one is going to go on top of the barrel. But before we do that, I'm just going to take a bit of this paper here. And we'll just need one strip of it. We're going to wrap this around. Just like so. And then you're going to lay this into the into that barrel vise.
Okay.
I'll give you another. Yeah, there you go. You got it. And then we'll just close that over the top. Yep. Tighten that down by hand. And let me just make sure. Yeah, so we'll just make sure that the shoulder
okay. Yeah.
isn't in the way there. All right, so once that's nice and tight, we just make it nice and snug here. It doesn't have to be super tight because we're only going to put about 50 foot-pounds of torque, and that'll be fine. So at this point, I like to take a little bit of grease. We use Brownells Action Lube Plus, but any like Molly B base grease works just fine. And I'll grab a rag here. So all you're going to do is basically just dip your finger in the grease and put some on the barrel threads. A little bit goes a long way.
Okay.
This is just in case you want to like change the barrel in the future. Everything comes off a lot easier. And nothing is prevents galling on the stainless and stuff. So.
More than that?
Nope, that's perfect.
Okay.
All right, so with this, we have our recoil lug. That's just gonna lock in. It's gonna go over the barrel, and that pin's gonna index on the bottom. All right, so what we're gonna do is I'll have you just kind of slide this on first with that pin facing you. Yep. And then, actually what we'll do, just kind of make things a little bit easier, I'll take my fix-it sticks here, and I'm just gonna pull the, whenever they ship this, they put one screw on the rail, just kind of keep it in place. They don't even torque it down. I'm just gonna get it out the way here. And then I'll hand you this action and just thread it on. And then stop about right there. We'll just slide that into there and then keep going. So we slid that recoil lug back into the action. Alright, perfect. So that's hand tight on there. All we need to do now is put some torque on it and torque it down. And then we'll check headspace after that. So, I'm going to give you this. We're using the short action custom action wrench. Just slide that all the way into the action. And yep, that should stop there. Perfect. So what we're going to do is just put torque on it. And to do that, that should be a 5/8. So I'll grab the torque wrench that I set down somewhere. And it's going to be a pretty snug fit, but just slide it onto the back of that. Perfect. Alright, yep, that's full contact there, so that'll be just fine. So all you're going to do is take the action wrench, or the this is called a torque wrench. Yes, there we go. Put it on there. And then we will, let's see where we're at here. Put it 90 degrees. There you go. All right, and then tighten it down till you feel the click. There it is. All right, and you can just slide that all the way out. Oh, the bolt catch, of course. There we go. And I'll take this from you. All right, so the barrel is now torqued into the action. So what we need to do at this point, before we put our ejector back in, we don't need that to check headspace. So I'm gonna hand you the bolt to put in. Perfect. All right.
So are these just like go and no-go gauges? Or?
That's exactly what they are. Yep. So the go and no-go gauge, these will help us determine that the bolts actually matches up to that chambering, to make sure everything's nice and safe and machined correctly, which it should be, but it's always good to double check it, right? This is a pre-fit barrel going into the action. So I'm going to give you the no-go gauge first, and all you're going to do is just drop this into the chamber and close that bolt. Alright, so I heard the extractor slip over it, so it's in there correctly, and it did not close, which is good. We'll pull that out there. Then we'll do the same thing with the go gauge. So spoiler alert, it should close all the way on this one. Alright, go for it. Look at that. Perfect.
Good to go.
So it passed the test, which means it is indeed safe and everything is installed correctly, right? So I'll just put my gauges up here. Alright, and at this point, we can go ahead and put that ejector back in. So this little guy is just kind of sits in there like so, because it kind of toggles when the bolt comes back and kicks that cartridge out.
Okay.
So we'll just drop that in there. If you need some needle nose, I can get you some. So if you actually just want to hold on to this screw here, I'm going to have you drop this in from the bottom, and I'll align that piece for you.
Okay.
It's right there, okay.
Oh, there's a little groove down in the...
Yeah.
I get it.
Looks like you got it, yeah. So, here's that Allen wrench. And just screw that all the way in, nice and snug. Perfect. And you can see it kind of move back and forth there. And just throw the bolts in, just to make sure we kind of installed everything correctly there. Perfect. Alright, now at this point we can just check the safety on our trigger. Make sure all that's good, right? So at this point it's on safe, so go ahead and pull that trigger. Nothing should happen. Push it forward to fire. Alright, perfect. And we can just pull the bolts out just so that it's out of the way during the rest of the process, and we'll throw that in at the very end. Alright, now at this point we can go ahead and install the base, and we can actually just do that right here. So I'm just going to loosen this, rotate the action. Now the base does overhang the front a little bit, so I'll just kind of want to make sure we have enough room. Yep, that's perfect. Okay, so if you'll take that base off and flip it over, yep, and just kind of tilt it towards the camera a little. Yep, there we go. There's these indexing pins that tell it exactly where to be on the action, which is just a convenience there, and it also adds support, obviously. So if you want to drop that back on the action, and if you notice, yeah, it fits nice and snug. We have 4 screws here, 2 short ones, 2 long ones. On these Remington style actions, the short ones will go in the front and the long ones will go in the back.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you just a little bit of Loctite to put on there as well. Got it right here. All right, you can leave that down there. Okay, so with the Loctite, red 271, what I do is I just put a little bit on the table, right? And I'm gonna have you just basically take a driver. You'll put it on the screw, and what I like to do is just roll the, boom, just a little dab. That's all you need. That was actually a lot. You could probably do less than that.
Okay.
And just, so this is a short screw, so it goes in the front. And just snug it up. You don't need to torque it down yet. Just put it in there till it's nice and snug. Perfect. And then do the same thing with the others. Perfect. So now we'll just swap out for a torque driver. And the specs for this are 20 to 25 inch-pounds. Honestly, we'll just go, I'll use a smaller driver. And we'll just go 20 inch-pounds on each one of these. So this one doesn't click or anything. As you tighten it down, this line is going to line up with one of these lines here.
Okay.
So just go to the 20. So just like you're doing like lug nuts on your car, do one, then go back and forth. So just kind of star pattern, but in a straight line, if that makes sense. All right, and then repeat that one more time. Perfect. And then I'll just kind of clean up my mess right there. Boom. And we won't need any more Loctite. Okay, so the base is installed. So at this point, we can actually go ahead and drop the action into our chassis. Okay, so what we're going to do is just pull this out. Just like so. Just like that. All right, perfect. So what we'll actually do at this point, instead of just doing this on the table, I'll pull that guy back off. We'll move back to the vise and just kind of install everything from the vise.
On the vise.
Yep.
Okay.
And with this, at the time of this video anyways, the newer Brownells vise, they have a base for it that mounts to the table, but honestly this clamp mount does pretty much everything we need it to do, and it's obviously really easy to get out the way when we're doing this kind of work. So that's why we have the clamp base on there, and we're probably not going to change that anytime in the near future. So with that being said, let's install the rest of this. So what we'll actually do here is, let me think of the easiest way to do this here. Let's just drop it in from the top, and then we'll just kind of work underneath it. So what we'll do, I'll rotate this vise a little bit so the table will help us support everything. And we're just going to go just like this. All right, so take the action and just drop it on in.
Maybe.
So when the action sits in there, we'll just pull it back so the recoil lug is against the actual like aluminum lug in the chassis, and then we'll tighten that down. We'll get them both snug, then we'll flip this whole thing over and torque them down.
Okay.
Just to get everything aligned. So let me get you the right sizes here. And we'll start with that front screw, which is already kind of installed in there. So if you, yeah, there you go.
This one.
Right. Yep, there you go.
Not wanting to catch the...
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, so just keep turning it there. That should be it.
Maybe. There we go.
Okay, cool. All right, so now that one's snug, but not
Doesn't
torqued
want
down.
to give us our bit back.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. We'll
There it
force
goes.
it. All right. And then we'll do the same thing in the rear, but now that it's kind of supported where it needs to be, we can just lay it on the table. And I'll take the screw washer, that's fine, and drop it in. All right, so now, go to the front one and torque that one to 65 inch-pounds.
Holy moly.
Yep. There it is. All right. And then do the same exact thing with the rear screw.
There.
Yep, there it is. All right, perfect. And then from here, let's go ahead and mount the optic, and then we'll put the Arca rail and bipod on the bottom. Because the fixture I like to use to mount optics, this kind of rests in it, and it'll just kind of keep that stuff out of the way. We're not going to need any more grease. Pliers, punches, okay. All right, so this is the Real Avid, their gun workstation, I think they call it. And it's really easy to mount optics in because it makes leveling the rifle really easy. And that's obviously important because you want the optic leveled to the rifle. And we'll just kind of rest this fore end in here. It's a little more square. There we go. All right, so at this point, I'll just kind of put my level on, right? And because the pads are like gel in here, you can move it and it'll stay, but we can bump it during the process and then we'll have to kind of redo it. But yep, that's perfectly fine. Let's grab your rings and your optic and kind of see where we want everything. So if you would, let me get you the right size here. You can go ahead and pull the screws out of these scope rings. I'll move this forward. And if you want, you can actually set them in here. This is a magnetic tray.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
So, what we'll do at this point is just kind of determine where we want the optic. I find that in most cases, like average height and arm length, right? So, in most cases, putting the eyepiece almost level with the tang will kind of be where we need to be here. So, with that being said, we're going to put a ring over this front screw and the third screw. So, first and third screw.
Does it matter what side?
I'd say put the actual like screws on this side.
Okay.
All right, perfect. And then torque those down. And with that, before you get them too tight here, if you just loosen that one just a bit, what we're going to do is, you see how there's some slight forward and back? We're going to push it all the way forward, because when the gun recoils, inertia of the scope's going to want to stay forward. So we're going to keep everything pushed forward against that recoil load. All right, and then we'll just torque those down to 20 inch-pounds.
Too short.
All right, perfect. Some adhesive on there, it looks like. Okay, so we'll just take our optic now, drop it into the rings, and what we want to make sure is that our rings aren't touching any of the bevels, so objective, turret, eyepiece, any of that stuff. And we'll come forward about right there. That ought to be pretty good. And then we will set these on. All right, so what we're gonna do at this point is just take these screws, put them back in, tighten them down most of the way, but not all of the way. And I'll show you how to make sure we get that gap on each side of the ring consistent as we tighten down here. All right, perfect. So what we're gonna do at this point, I'll do one of the rings, just kind of show you how I do it, and then I'll let you do the other one from there. So you've got that one pretty level already. You got that one close. So on this one, for example, all right, so the opposite side is closed all the way. So what I'll do is back these off, and then I'll push it all the way shut on one side, like I'll do this side here. And then I'll tighten the opposite side until the gap is even, like right there. Then I'll just come back and snug up the other side, just to get the gap even on those two rings.
Okay.
And then I'll take all the screws, not torque them down, but just bottom them out. All right, and now before we torque everything, we just need to level the scope. So typically what I'll do is loosen one side, loosen the opposite side. Remember which sides I loosen because the gaps won't be equal, right? Okay, so now our scope moves back and forth. And I'll just pick a ring, front or rear, doesn't matter. And tighten it down a little bit so there's some resistance there, just like that. All right, now I like to use a stair at level because I know these things are flat, right? And then I will, in this case, it doesn't fit there, so no, I won't. That's okay. Let's see. All right, so I'll just use the flat on my caliper here. Or we'll use this back here. I'll push it down nice and level, just like that. Set my level on top. And yeah, we did move a little bit. That's okay. All right, so now the gun is level again. So now to check the optic level, sometimes the top turret works and it's level, sometimes it's not. But the most consistent way to measure level on the optic is actually
Underneath.
underneath, yeah. So we're gonna push our caliper up against the optic. So it's bottoming out on the flat on the optic. And we'll take our level, and then we just rotate the optic. And it's okay if it's off front and back. We're looking for that horizontal.
Side to side.
That looks pretty good. And you can see the top does not correspond with that at all. Okay, so now what I'll do is those 4 screws that I loosened, so just go ahead and snug those back down. Don't worry about torquing them yet, just snug them up. Now we pick a ring, it doesn't matter which one, and then we torque that entire ring down first.
Okay.
So starting with, if you start with this screw, crisscross, come back, and then, start pattern it.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to 20 inch-pounds. All right, so at this point, now that one ring is completely torqued down, I like to double check the level again, because I'd hate to get both of them torqued down completely and then notice it was off a little bit whenever I torqued it, because when you torque it down, it can twist that tube a little bit. Once you have one ring fully torqued down, that's not really an issue unless you have some like crazy long tube. It's not gonna affect anything. So I will just double check that. Perfect. The bubble's off to the left, but it's off a little bit to the left on the gun and the optic, so
okay.
they're together. All right.
And torque this one.
Yep. All right, it's starting to look like a gun now.
Looks like a little bit of an upgrade from the Savage.
Yeah, it is. It would be considered a bit of an upgrade. All right, so what we'll do here, I'm going to hand this to you, and I'm going to move this, and then you can just lay it on the table. All right, so what we're going to do at this point, we're going to pull the action back out the chassis, unfortunately, right? But we're going to do that to install this Arca rail. We could have done it at the beginning, but where's the fun in that, right? We get to spend more time taking stuff apart, I guess. Okay, so all we're going to do, I'm going to hand this to you here and just remove those two screws.
Slide it this way just a little bit. There you go.
All right, and that rear one. And we're just pulling out the action screws is all we're doing. All right, get this stuff out the way here. All right, so now we can do this. All right, so all we're doing is taking this Arca rail and we are mounting it to the bottom of the actual chassis itself, okay? So with this, we're gonna have to pull this aluminum bed out the chassis, and then this is basically gonna connect to the bottom of the polymer.
Okay.
And then kind of reconnect to the chassis itself because some of these screws are gonna be replaced. So it will be connected to the polymer once we get it on. So, or the aluminum, excuse me. What we need to do, if you notice all these screws going across the bottom here, we're going to pull those out as well as these two on the top. All right, and then we'll pull that off afterwards, but for now, this 4-inch should come off.
Is that swivel stud holding it in?
Nope. All right, I'm gonna have you do that. All right, so to pull off the fore end, basically just grab that gap up there and separate it.
Okay.
Yep, perfect. So for now, we'll be working in this piece here. So if you notice, the inside is cut for these hex nuts, and that's where we're gonna drop these in.
In every.
So we'll do 2 in the front, 2 in the back, and then we'll do 2 in the middle.
There we
All right, and before you put the middle ones in, we'll just start getting this seated. So you notice one end is beveled. That bevel is going to be facing downward so that the Arca can actually like slide onto it. So we're just gonna set this on the bottom. I'm gonna angle it as to, oh, well actually our swivel stud is in the way. So we'll just pull that out real quick. And I'll just get that out your way real quick so you can keep going here. All right, so this is gonna go on just like so. And you can kind of see all the holes line up there. I'll show the, kind of try to show the camera that. All right. And just hold your finger over the top bolt there, and then one of these short screws are what's going to go on there.
I don't know if I'm getting the right.
And what we can do, let's move this over to the vise here, and we'll just gently grip it like that. And then this is going to go right there. Yep. Right
So
here.
does it not go, the head not go in the little?
Oh, yeah, okay. I didn't see that this was recessed on certain spots. So yeah, these, I'm using cheat codes here to pull these out. All right, so let's see. We'll do the bottom ones first then.
What you grab?
It grabbed it.
Okay.
And just snug those up, nice and good. Okay, so we'll take that off. Just line it up back on here. And well, first we'll kind of note that we have our old bolts here. So these 2 old ones are still going to go in the back right here. And then, which will go around that screw. And then we have 2, 4, 6 new long bolts. Got a few different lengths here. All right, so we'll just set this on. All right, I'll just kind of real quick determine what length we need. So you got short, long, short, and these three, and then skip that one because that doesn't lead to anything.
Okay. These two still go back.
Yep. Perfect. All right, and then we'll go back into our chassis here. All right. All right, so and again with that front screw, we'll just snug it up.
There it goes.
That's good, and then we'll do that rear screw. Go back to that front one first. We'll do that front one at 65.
Okay.
Yep.
Eat my Wheaties this morning.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, and then retorque that front one. And one more in the back.
Sweaty hands and plastic
Yeah.
screwdriver.
There it is. All right, perfect. Now, the very easy part is just locking the bipod onto the Arca. So if you want to grab that there, this one has a lever that of course is adjustable. If you push in and rotate this, you can adjust how tight it is. If it's not tight enough, so we'll just throw it on there and see.
Too tight.
Too tight? All right. So just push that in and back off a few turns. That ought to be good. A little bit goes a long way with those. All right, nice. We'll just pull that off there.
You can pull straight out.
Okay, nice, yeah. All right. Now you can take your bolt, drop your bolt in. All right, and then we'll do that safety test again. So it's on safe, pull the trigger. Yep, put it on fire. Nice. Now I like to kind of slam it a few times here. Yep, that looks good. Okay, well, that's all there is to it. We're not doing a muzzle device because you are running direct thread suppressors.
Correct.
All right, so no problem. And also we'll just do a test fit on this magazine here. All right, that locks in. All right, and that's all there is to it. So Alex, congratulations on your new rifle and thanks for coming out.
Thank you, Caleb.
All right, absolutely. And if you have any questions about parts, whatever other stuff using this build, on the Brownells website under Blueprint Builds, we'll have the whole thing spec'd out for you. So with that being said, if you're wherever you're watching this, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or just need help with anything for any reason ever, feel free to give us a call on the tech line. We'll be happy to help you out. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.